Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising. Welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am your host, Misty Rosegold, International Success Coach. And today I have with me Bill Aubin. Hello, Bill.
Hello, Misty.
How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having
Good.
me.
Well, I'm excited to have you and talk about your business. It is a juicy topic, and I'm curious to learn more about what you do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. So I'll let you continue. I'm not going to break in yet.
Go ahead and tell the audience, what do you do?
Great. So I'm a commercial loan broker with Optive Commercial Capital, and we do business and commercial loans. I differentiate a little bit
Mhm.
in that business loans are pretty much more obviously for an existing business or a startup. So we do a lot of SBA loans, working capital, accounts receivable financing, equipment loans, pretty much anything that a bank can do. The difference with us is we really take the strengths and the challenges of the borrower and match them with the correct lender anywhere in the country, as opposed to going to maybe your local bank. Nothing against local banks. I work with them all the time, but they usually have more of an in the box type loan, and it needs to fit exactly what their parameters are, and that's it. Whereas we can take, what's most important? Is it the rate? Is it the term, cash flow, collateral, credit, all those things, match them up with the correct lender. And also we do commercial loans, which is more your traditional, your properties. It can be a fix and flip. It can be maybe a business that's renting their property and wants to buy it. It can be any type of commercial revenue generating type property. And again, I kind of differentiate with business and commercial. They're both in the realm of commercial lending, but
Mhm.
a lot of times people think of one or the other. And I can't tell you how many times I've been told, oh, I didn't know you did SBAs. I thought you just did property. I didn't know you did property. I thought you just did SBA, whatever. So I really try to gear my presentation towards who I'm talking to,
Mhm.
unless I'm trying to be a little bit more all encompassing. And really, sometimes we'll work with bank declines. Sometimes we'll work with people that just want to know, what are their options? What does it look like? We might
Mhm.
start with someone way before they need a loan, or it could be someone's been turned down, or they need a bridge loan, they need to fund right away, or they're going to lose their opportunity. But we really try to do a lot of consulting, advising, answer some questions, and sometimes compare. I've had quite a few clients that maybe even have already been presented with a loan, and they want to compare two different options.
Mhm.
And that's the thing too, as you know, people have their own expertise. A lot of people are running their business. They don't have time to pursue all the different options
Right.
and scenarios and things that go into a loan. So that's where we try to come in and be that resource for them.
That's wonderful. So do you act kind of like a broker, a
I
loan
do
broker?
exactly. Yes. Now I do some lending. We have done some lending internally. Most of the time, we are more of a loan broker, though, and I'm working several different loans right now all across the country. Some are very local, literally backyard, and some are in different states. And usually, what I try to do, this isn't all the time, Misty. It depends. Everything is its own different situation, but we really try to get two or three different options for each borrower, where we can say, here's the goods and bads of each loan. And sometimes it's down payment, sometimes it's rate, sometimes it's collateral, whatever it is that is more of their sweet spot or their hot button or whatever it is. That way we can give them a couple different options.
Mhm.
Each loan has its strengths. Some might be better for one person as opposed to someone else. So we really try to give them at least two to three different options and let them pick what's going to be the best for them.
I think that's incredible that people can have options. So I know one of our friends is an SBA lender, Dre. She's been on my show.
I have heard that. Yes, she's
So
great.
yeah, like she works with a specific bank, so she has to stay with that specific bank. And I think it's great that there are brokers out there like you that can say, hey, here's three different loan options. Let's compare and see which one fits your commercial needs best or your business the best. And I love that. And I know that you guys spot business, so that's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
on the SBA side, for the business side, do you have loan minimums that you work with?
We do. In Dre, I'm not going to say what Dre's is, but Dre is absolutely wonderful to work with. But there are times where a loan might come to me that doesn't fit what her minimum is, or for whatever reason doesn't fit her other requirements. So we do have other SBA lenders that will go through. I have one SBA lender that will go down to 30,000. I have another one that will go down to 90,000. The
Okay.
majority, most of my SBA lenders, though, they're more in the 250 to 350 range. Um, and typically there's an awful lot involved with an SBA loan. There's time and there's paperwork. So I
Right.
won't say all the time because that would be a little bit misleading, Misty, but typically there are better options than going with an SBA loan for a $30,000 loan. There's usually better ways to do that. What
Okay.
people like about the SBA might be, the rate, the term, the security of it, and things like that. But usually it's a matter of, again, why, what are they using the funding for and why do they want to go in that direction? So,
Okay. That makes sense. So what I'm hearing from you is that you will steer people in the right direction for their business. So I've put it into two columns in my notes. So I'm just approaching the business right now. We'll get to the commercial side. Um, so if they need a loan for 30K, you can steer them in the right direction, correct?
yes, correct, exactly. Whereas maybe an SBA might be especially suited for someone that's a startup. Pretty much that's usually the best option for a brand new business, but there are sometimes other options. And it can be everything from, do they have existing time in business? Do they have accounts receivable? Do they have contracts, purchase orders? What is it they need the money for?
Mm.
I've even told people, you can get a home equity loan sometimes for better than doing a traditional business loan. You can get 0% credit card for a year and then refinance into something. And I'm certainly not recommending these loans. I'm just saying there's a lot of other options that are out there. Sometimes you don't need 30,000 up front. Someone might have that in their head, but they really only need 5,000 right now to get their business up and running, or a marketing campaign, or to hire somebody new. They need 30,000 ultimately, but they might need it over the next 12, 15 months as they scale. So
Right.
sometimes you would really want to look at a different option, even though they have that dollar sign, that finite amount out there. Okay, this is what I need. Do you want it now? Do you need to pay for it all now?
Right.
Sometimes you do, but sometimes those are things that you definitely need to just ask some more questions and really uncover what is the need, what is the purpose of it, and then what is the pain point.
I really like that. You're diving deep into the process with the people to really figure out what's going to work best for them. And that's going to save a lot of people a lot of heartache. So, and a lot of headache,
Mhm.
over the course of time, which is great. I knew that we were going to have a good conversation today and I was going to learn so much. So, just by the way, everybody, we are not giving financial advice, disclaimer. These are options that Bill is presenting to us that we have available to us if we need a loan or line of credit or something like that. So, um, if you're between clients and you have your next client coming on in 3 months, right? But you still need to eat, one of these loans might be an option or a credit card or something. So
Exactly.
if you guys aren't sure what to do, you can reach out to Bill. It sounds like he has a wealth of knowledge and make sure that you're covering all your bases and you're making informed decisions, right? So I'm really big on that, especially in the podcast space. Are we making informed decisions? Because there's so much that we don't know about the business world, and there's so much that we don't know about finance. And it's so important for everybody because the general person doesn't know that you're available, that you're an option. So,
Exactly. No, yeah, exactly. And I appreciate you saying that too. And the name of the business is Optive. Um, and it kind of sounds like choice, but it actually means chosen for trust. And I like that because I want to be trusted. I want to be a trusted
mm,
advisor or trusted resource or trusted connection. Um, And much like people that you work with all the time, you surround yourself with good people that you can trust
Hmm.
because they're going to know something that you don't know. And I certainly don't admit to knowing it all, but at least to have connections and have resources and have good people. Much like you mentioned, Dre, sometimes she'll reach out to me for something
Hmm.
that we can provide that she can't. And I have a
Right.
great relationship with an awful lot of bankers because if you think about it, typically a bank, I mean, bankers have great relationships with each other, but they're not always going to recommend or refer to their direct competition and risk losing their deposit or relationship, whatever. Whereas I can be more of a resource and maybe help them because we have such a broader variety of things that we can do. But again, I oftentimes I'll reach out to several people in the banking industry that are directly banked and see if they have an opportunity
Mm.
or a program, or if they have someone that they can recommend, because it is kind of a tight world, like you say.
It is.
You're running your business. You don't want to worry about all the questions. My favorite thing is, what questions should I be asking? I don't even know the questions to ask, let alone the answers. So we can kind of provide that and say, these are the questions.
Hmm.
What are your concerns? Okay, Misty, you want money for your business. Why do you want it? When do you need it? How much do you want to pay for it? What is your collateral? What is your, exit strategy? Well, all those different questions. You might know them, you might not. I mean, you personally, you probably do, but I have a lot of people that might be brand new in their business endeavor, so to speak,
Hmm.
and they haven't really thought about all those things. And sometimes you kind of put them on the spot a little bit better to be able to say, these are the things we need to work through. Let's go through this together. Let's dive in and see. Oftentimes people, if I just had this money, I could grow my business. Well, if I grow my business, I would have this money and I wouldn't need a loan. It's the classic, catch
Uh-huh.
22 of, I need the job to get experience. I need the experience to get the job. Well, it
Hmm.
applies here at the same time.
Hmm.
Most traditionally in the lending world, number one question, okay, Misty, you want this loan? How are you going to pay it back? And then that becomes,
Right.
that's the ultimate question. That's all anybody cares about. Now, how do I put you in the best position to be able to pay that loan back?
So you mentioned the word exit. So how do you help people plan for their exit strategy from their business? Because I know that you've met Jeff with SDR Ventures and
Yes.
we do some work together and all the things. So let's talk a little bit about that space because that piqued my curiosity. I was like, oh, exit? What? Tell me more. How do you serve
Excellent.
people in the exit process?
Yeah, and Jeff is a great resource as well. He is wonderful and is a wealth of information. And really, the way I do it, I certainly don't proclaim to be anywhere in the exit strategy in terms of a business, but I let people know the importance of that, especially when they're buying a business. If I'm helping them get an SBA loan, maybe to purchase a business, I let them know right away the importance of setting themselves up for what the future is. At some point in time, there's going to be an exit of that business. They're either going to sell it. Um, Obviously, it's either going to sell, it's going to fold, they're going to retire, they're going to do whatever it is that they're going to do. But I let them know from day
Hmm.
one in that business to start rethinking about that. Set policies, procedures. You don't want to be the whole business only, where
Mm,
once you're removed from the picture, the business can't survive without you. Now, maybe
right.
in a solo prop, and that's your endeavor, and that's all you want it to be, is just that and not go beyond that. That's
Hmm.
completely fine. But you need to set those expectations, or maybe not set those expectations. A better way to say it is maybe realize what that looks like. What do you want this business to be? Do you want it to be a legacy
Right.
business to your kids, to somebody else, an M&A, a franchise, or whatever? So when
Hmm.
I say exit, I look at a little bit more of, you're getting this loan to pay the business, pay off the business, or whatever that looks like, grow the business. What are you going to do when this loan is paid off? That's really where that's ultimately my exit strategy. Is, we're getting a loan, we're going to buy a property, we're going to buy something. When
Hmm.
that loan's paid off, what's the next step?
Okay.
And then it might be, what's the exit strategy for the business? What's it going to look like moving on? But to much more look farther down the road, what's it look like in,
Mm.
the traditional interview question, where do you see yourself in X amount of years? Well, where do you see this business in X amount of years? You have to have some kind of an idea of where you're going.
Right.
It is a common question we get. When is it time to hire an employee? When is it time to buy that second tow truck? When is it time
Hmm.
to look at four-door properties instead of two single doors and a duplex? I don't know, whatever
Right.
that looks like to you, or to your audience, I should say, to anybody that we're talking to.
Hmm.
Um, But that's really what I do is I just try to get people to look long term. This loan's going to be paid off. Are you going to borrow more to grow? Are you going to do something different? And I'm going to certainly recommend that they talk to a specialist, talk to somebody that deals with. It can be a business broker, it can be a M&A specialist, it can be a merger, or I'm sorry, a franchise specialist. There's a lot of different
Hmm.
people that can help you know where to go with that. And I like to say people like myself, like you, like Dre, like Jeff,
Hmm.
like so many people are kind of a web or a wheel or however you want to look at it, where we know so many different people. And you might be the best plumber in the entire world, running a great plumbing business or whatever, but your day-to-day contact might not be these business resources that we're looking at. And it could be a coach, an advisor, a realtor, a
Right.
CPA, an attorney. I mean, there's all of those, but there's also a lender. There's also an exit coach, or I'm sorry, exit strategy professional, whatever that
Hmm.
looks like, depending on
Right.
where you're trying to go, as well as a strategist, all those different things, people like yourself, myself, and
Hmm.
other people that are out there. So
For sure. So my specialty is focusing on growth, and I'm a people expert. So
excellent.
we always have the conversation of, if you were an investor, would you buy your business from you? And if not, why? And look at the points that you're like, no, I wouldn't because of X, Y, and Z. That's
Yep.
what we need to work on, right? So you
That's a
had
great
mentioned,
approach.
thank you. I appreciate that. So for me, a lot of people that specialize in the exit, they're in the nuts and bolts and the systems and the numbers and all the things. So people are my expertise and growth is my expertise with creative strategies. Uh, so I do serve a very needed purpose in that space. It's just I know my lane and I kind of hang out
Mhm.
there. So you mentioned when to hire. So do people seek you out to get loans to hire when they realize, wow, I'm capped. I can't go any further without assistance. Can they come to you to say, hey, I need money to hire a person so that I can actually grow the business?
Yes, exactly. And that's a great question too. And I love you keep coming back to I mentioned and it sparks something in you and you ask a question about it that's relevant. So I love your the way that goes. What I had a perfect example for that would be a local insurance agency that I had, and they were growing, they were pretty much capped out to the point that they really couldn't take on any new clients. And as a business, that's fine if that's exactly where you want to be and you have no further expectations. She wanted to hire on a new client, and the situation for them, well, I guess the best way to explain it, Misty, she could hire the new person, but it would take a little while till she would be able to get the revenue from the new client.
Mhm.
It's not producing instant revenue right away. So she did.
Right.
She wanted to get, I think, a $50,000 loan, and it was enough that she needed X amount just to sustain, until that person was up and trained and producing the revenue and they could afford to pay her. And we kind of walked through that type thing. And I think what we ended up doing is, like I was talking about earlier, she really only needed 20,000 up front. The rest of it could come slowly because she'd
Mm,
start getting money incrementally. So we looked at
okay.
how we would do that. And I think we got her a $20,000 term loan up front, and then we got her a line of credit. So she had access to 30,000. So she wasn't necessarily paying, like she had the 50,000 in her account right away. And it worked out great. She was able to hire, she was able to train, she was able to grow a business. Because absolutely an employee is an asset, just like the tow truck that I mentioned, or the equipment, or
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
materials that you need for purchase order financing. Say you got a huge order came in, well, you don't have the equipment, or I'm sorry, the materials maybe to make that. Well, you also might have to go out and hire one, two, three, five people to get
Right.
that job done. So that's an asset. Just like you wouldn't think twice about going out and buying the raw materials or the tractor for your landscaping company, or the whatever it is. But in your staffing, your employees is exactly the same type thing, and you would just get a loan for that as well, because it's very easy to be able to say, if I hire this person and I can pay them, here's where I'm going to get the ROI from it on the backside. So
Hmm.
it's just like any other thing that you're going to do to increase your output or
I
your
love
revenue.
that.
So yeah.
That's great insight for the audience so they know, like, I have options
Mhm.
when I reach some sort of ceiling in my business and I need to, step into hiring more. Like we have options for that.
Exactly. And that's really where you have to do the math. You have to absolutely say, what's my break even point though? How much do I need? How much am I going to get? Is it time to hire this person because I'm going to get this much on the back end? And I've told people, again, I always go back to the tow truck example. If you're one tow truck company and either that truck breaks down, or here, let's say better, let's say you have the option to buy another tow truck and your revenue is going to double. Well, of course, you're going to go from 100,000 a year to 200,000 a year with that second truck.
Mhm.
Now you have to back into it though. What's the rate of the loan going to be? Do I want
Right.
a 5% or 20%? Well, you have to figure that out. But at the same time, even still at an extremely expensive 20% rate, you've
Hmm.
just 2x your revenue. Some people that's worth it, some people that's not. But those are the kinds of questions that you need to ask, not,
Hmm.
oh, if I do this, I can grow. Well, maybe you can. What's the pain point? What's it look like? What's the long term? So those
Hmm.
are all things that you need to analyze. There's accounts receivable financing. People don't realize that your accounts receivable is an asset. Purchase orders, money that's coming into you as an asset you can borrow against. And there's different ways that you can do that as well. And again, those are a little bit outside the box of what typical financing looks like, but they're all good questions to have or to discuss.
Awesome. Yes, I'm learning. I love it. And I'm so glad that you're in my network. I
Hey, thank
just
you. Likewise.
having this conversation with you for the audience, it's not just for them, it's for me too. I'm like, oh, Bill's even more of a resource than what I realized. Okay,
You're the
we're
best.
good.
Thanks, Misty. Appreciate you.
This is good. Awesome. All right, so now let's talk about commercial loans because they're different spaces.
Mhm.
So, what is the difference? You said the commercial is for more for property, is that correct?
Exactly, yeah. And so the way I look at it as commercial is more what you would think about with real estate. Now, we mentioned SBA loans. There's two types of SBA loans. There's an SBA loan. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can have real estate or no real estate. Typically, an SBA loan is going to be 10 years, just ballpark, not always, but usually think of it as 10 years. If you have a real estate involved in the SBA transaction, it can go up to 25 years, or it can be 30, it can be longer. But that's just something important to know that you can stretch the term just by that. So when you say commercial, or when I say commercial, what I'm referring to is anything with the real estate component. That is sometimes owner occupied, sometimes not. I cannot do a residential property that is owner occupied,
Okay.
meaning you wanted to buy a house that you're going to live in. I can't do that. I
Mhm.
have some great people that I can refer you to. I'm sure you do as well. Now, if you're going to buy a house that someone else is going to live in, that's going to produce revenue, that I can absolutely help funding for. And it can be a fix and flip. It can be a property that needs renovation, or it can be completely ready to go right now. And there's
Mm.
different types of loans for that. You may have heard DSCR, which is debt service coverage ratio, and then there's HM, which is a hard money loan. That'll be a topic for another discussion when we just
Yeah.
talk about flips and investment properties.
Right.
But we can use those. I use probably 10 different lenders all across the country, and they all have their different boxes to check for people that want to get involved in fix and flips or investment properties. Then there's also more of a two door, a four door, a 40 door, a hotel. All those are all
Mm.
covered under the same commercial loan. There's developments, there's land only loans, there's pretty much someone, let's say for your office, if you wanted to buy the space that you're renting for your office, there's
Mhm.
loans that you can do for that. You can go SBA or conventional. Now, sometimes you might have, well, which one do I want? I want to buy this property. SBA loan is usually going to have a lower down payment, but the rates may be a little bit higher than this is
Mm.
current right now, what's going on in the world today. In the past, it's been different. In the future, it may be different. But the down payment, the amount of time, the rate might be 2 points different. But at the same time, some people don't care. They'd rather pay 0 to 10% down as opposed to 30% down. And that depends. It's up to you. What's most important? Again,
Mhm.
would you rather
Mhm.
pay that? I'm not going to quote rates because you'll get a call tomorrow. Bill said the rates were this,
Yeah,
but
don't
just
know,
know
no.
that the rates are a little bit different. And that's some of the important things that we would discuss though. If you came to me and said, Bill, I want to know what's the difference in SBA or conventional, which way should I go? We would have that discussion, and then I'd be, okay, Misty, why would you ask? What is concern for you? And then those are the things that unfold. But most of the properties that I do is either someone wants to buy a property they either want to buy, be a landlord, and it can be a residential type property, or it can be a building.
Hmm.
Maybe they want to buy a big building that they can grow into someday, and they might have two tenants, two other businesses in it, maybe like businesses. Let's say you're a contractor, you might have a realtor, you might have someone in the trades that's also
Hmm.
renting, so you're all in the same office, an architect, a title person, things like that. Well, you could be that landlord and essentially be rent free because you're paying other people to live there. I'm getting into
Yes.
tangents. I
No,
like
no, no.
talking about,
It's good.
I'm an
No.
introvert. You wouldn't know it, but I talk about what I love. And then I start getting I'll go, how long is this? How many hours? No.
Right. No.
Um,
So, yeah, for the sake of our audience, right? Because we all have a short attention spans.
there you go.
Uh, I appreciate that you identified that a mortgage loan is different from a commercial loan. So you do not do mortgage lending,
Not residential mortgage. I do
right?
commercial mortgage. Yes,
Right.
correct.
So you don't do residential lending. Thank you. Um, this is this is really important for people to understand the difference, right? Because we don't know what we don't know until somebody educates us. So you're giving us a class, so to speak. It's a college course, right? On different types of commercial lending and business loans and all the things. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate so much of what I'm learning from you, and I know the audience is learning a ton too. If I am, they are too, which is awesome. So in the commercial space, do you connect with and network with commercial realtors a lot?
Absolutely great question. I love talking to you. You read my mind. Yes, commercial realtors are absolutely great for me. And that reason, um, if you can imagine the scenario, you're driving around, you're looking at properties or someone that you're connected to, and I've been in this position myself. And a question that comes up often is, do you know anybody how am I going to finance this? Who do I talk to? I've never sought out a commercial loan before. So it's great to be a resource because there's so many different things we can do. We can offer so many different types of loans instead of, yeah, I know this person, but they only have one loan and that's it, take it or leave it. And if I can, one of my best connections I ever had was when Stapleton Control Tower got sold. A commercial realtor reached out to me. They were just about to lose the deal. They needed a super quick bridge loan. If they didn't close in 2 weeks, they were going to lose the deal.
Hmm.
And so we ended up actually, I take that back. It was if they didn't close within 30 days, they're going to lose the deal. Well, we got a bridge loan. We got it within 2 weeks, I think it was, by the time all was said and done. Saved a little bit of money on the transaction because we were able to close so fast. And that was just because someone didn't know who to call and they knew that I could do bridge loans. And so I reached out to several people, gave them two offers, and we got it done right away. But
Wow,
commercial
that's
realtors are
amazing.
great. Yeah, it was such a great feeling just to help so many people too. And I was like, and that's really what got me a little more into the commercial space as opposed to doing more with the SBAs and
Mm,
post COVID type keep the door open money, working capital lines of credit and all those. And I really got much more involved in doing that. But commercial realtors are great because it's great to be a resource. And I've done several presentations to some offices and talked to them about the different types of loans. Surprisingly, and again, I love commercial realtors, not saying anything disparaging, but their specialty is not to know about funding options.
exactly.
They're going to show a property and that's it. Whereas we can come in and say, hey, there's some different things. I've had people ask me, how do you fund a church? Or maybe someone that does
Mm,
cannabis. Sorry, I just put church and cannabis together. Disregard that. They're not usually in the same building. Leaf, steeple, I don't know, whatever. But sometimes you get those questions. It could be an underground storage tank. It was a gas station, or maybe it's a rural property that has its own different set of parameters. All those different things come up. So I
okay.
love talking to commercial realtors because sometimes, and I hate to say use the word educate, that sounds like I'm teaching them something, but I'd like to be a resource and really be able to say, if your clients think they're going to be challenged funding, let's talk about it. Let's look at it. What can we do? There's so many programs
Mm.
out there, especially now. There's an awful lot of vacant space out there, and people are looking to find some good deals. They just need to get financed for them. So
Well, just based on the story that you shared with us, you are an amazing resource for the commercial realtors. If they need to get something done and get it done quickly, it sounds like you're the guy for that. So, any commercial realtors listening, please contact Bill. Now, before we wrap up, because we're coming to that point, I would love for you to tell the audience what got you into this industry. Why did you start?
That's a great question. Okay, so for hour number two, no, I'm just kidding.
You've got 5 minutes, go.
Oh, okay, there you go. No, that's a great question. My background, I was in service and sales for a long time, and I worked for some national companies and did a lot with relationship building, teaching, training, and a lot of different things. Got to the point in my career, some family things were going on, and I started looking at what are the options? What do I want to do when I grow up, so to speak? So I really looked at what was a business I could buy, what was a franchise I could buy, what did I see myself doing. So someone was really smart and they advertised to be a commercial loan broker on one of the networks that advertised businesses for sale.
Mm.
So I researched that for probably between 2 and 3 years. I know, hard to believe, analytical me. But so I reached out to as many people as I could find in the country that were under the title commercial loan broker, somewhere in the Denver area, somewhere all over the country. Um, and I pursued that. I went and I did, and there's fairly, as you alluded to, it's basically college level training in a real short amount of time. And I just found out how hard it was for me to get funding to buy a business. So I said I wanted to be that resource for other people.
Mm.
If I know how hard it is for me to get a loan with my experience and cash flow and things like that, I said that I know there's other people that are having the same questions that I am. And that's
Mm.
really what started it. And it was really right before COVID, which is probably not the best time in the world to start. At the time, it went from a lot of growing businesses, and then it became truly keep the door open. How do we do this? I
Right.
got involved with some task forces through Evergreen Chamber, Conifer Chamber, worked with some county commissioners, some government people, a lot of local business representatives, and we really helped people do their PPP, their EIDL. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh my goodness, this is such a great thing. I'm able to absolutely help people. And I know that sounds like a cliche. And I think you and I even talked about this the other day, but is it a cliche when it's true? Well, yeah, that's why it's a cliche, because it's true. So many people have said it over the course of time, it becomes reality. And it was really just great to be able to help people. And as we discussed too, it started much more in the business space, in the SBAs
Right.
and working capital line of credit. Then I got the opportunity to do a few in the real estate. So I'm really moving a little more towards that. I don't do a ton of fix and flip. It's not huge in this market like it is in some, but I have some great connections, some great people that I work with that specialize in that. But I've just met so many great people, business owners as well as other people that just know people. And again, it's great to be able to, sorry, here's another cliche, but to be able to say that you help people fund their dreams. That's what people want to do.
Mm.
People like you, it's like you have an opportunity. If you could just get there, how do I get the money? How do I get
Right.
the opportunity? And to say that you can offer almost or provide a tailor-made loan, that's to fit you. Here's your
Mhm.
challenges. Here's what you're running into. Here's why you're being told no. And that's the first question I always ask. Have you already consulted? Have you already reached out and tried to get a loan? And when I have someone come back to me, they might say no, they might say yes, whatever. But a lot of times they get, yes, I got turned down by 2 or 3 people. I have one SBA client that did get a loan. They got turned down by 9 people before we got them a
Wow.
loan. Yeah. And that's there's a lot of tenacious people in that to still get that loan done. So that being
Understood.
said, that was a little more of a transit or a little more of an answer than what you specifically, but that was my beginning, and then a little bit more about what I love about what I do. So
Thank you for seeing a need and fulfilling that need. I believe that we are the most fulfilled in life and in business when we do that, regardless of whatever path it is. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be you in working in the commercial lending space. You could be me, right? I saw a need in humanity and I stepped up and I fulfilled that need.
mhm.
It fulfills me, and I am certain that it fulfills you. So I just wanted to
Yes.
take a moment and say thank you for stepping into that need. I think that is the most powerful place any of us can be. So before we wrap up, I want to plug the chamber, the Conifer Chamber, because you are the president of it, correct?
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
So you guys go visit the Conifer Chamber. I know it's a drive if you live in the Denver area, but please go visit. Bill is the president. He will shake your hand and kiss your baby.
Thanks, Misty. I appreciate that. You're going to be my permanent spokesperson forever. I love that.
Yes. So back to your business. What is one way that people can reach out to you? We'll share the rest in the description of the podcast. So just one way.
Great. I prefer phone calls, just because I like to talk to people as opposed to playing email tag. And
Mm,
but I can be reached at 303-885-9701. I'm available through email and all the traditional sources, but I absolutely prefer phone calls because there's going to be a lot of back and forth and questions, and I'm available.
cool. Old school. Love it.
That's it.
That's
That's
awesome.
how we talk. That's how we communicate. So those things don't just take pictures. They actually are good for other things too. So
Wait, what? You can hear somebody's voice on the other
I
end?
know, I know. It's hard to believe. I know. I have a rotary dial cell phone. It's the only one that's out there, Misty. So I'm going to date myself a little bit here.
Yeah, and some of the audience does not know what that is.
No,
So,
well, it's black and white screen too. I got a discount on it. So.
oh my gosh, that's great. Well, Bill, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm sure you will be back in the future. This has been such a fun conversation and informative. So, thank you for that. Any final words before we say goodbye?
No, I just want to say thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I think we've had a few conversations, and I love every time I talk with you. I really do. I love your passion and enthusiasm just for helping people and being a resource and being a connector. You've already, in the short amount of time we've known each other, you've connected me to some great people. And I love that you practice what you preach and you're so good at it. And the strength of an army to build an empire, that sticks with me. Obviously, I've quoted you twice now. So,
Hey.
so I remember and I listen, and I like to be a connector and a resource, and just a partner to people to help do what needs to be done. So thank you for your time. Just thank you for everything that you do as well. I really appreciate knowing you and having these conversations.
Thank you. I receive your kind words. Well, you all, we will see Bill again in the future, and I will see you all soon. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.